Hello!
Hi.
Wait, what? His very first time losing consciousness? Oh, right, he just got shot.
He did just get shot. He's fine. Don't worry about him. Akasaka is a good boy, saving the day.
I was momentarily distracted by wondering which member of Akasaka's family is going to die.
What? What would that happen?
Well, because they keep spending so much time giving him all of these death flags, and I feel like they've now, in that tip, vicariously shared those death flags to his wife.
Nah, dude, he's gonna go home and have a good old time.
And his unborn child. So now one of them or all of them are going to die, except Akasaka. Oh no! So it's either going to be his wife or his child, because we know Akasaka survives into the intro, which is the future.
Into the intro tip, yes.
Yes.
So it's not a tip at all, but it's basically a tip. Let's be real.
Slip of the tongue.
That's okay. I feel you. Slip of the bullet into the flesh.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So for recap, last time Akasaka had a standoff with some criminals working for the Sonizakis, and he was all, "Why don't you just lay down your gun? You might shoot me, and I don't want anyone to get shot." And he did, and then Oishi was like, "Stand down, criminal! I have multiple rocket launchers ready to fire." And he jumped out and he started like setting fire to the jungle, like Predator style.
This is how I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. He had like a shoulder-mounted minigun, if I recall correctly.
Part of me now wants to call the previous episode Tropic Thunder, but I feel like I'm only going to discover that after I've uploaded it.
That said, there is a glorious image and some fan art that I can't show you yet. They turn like all the different club members into TF2 characters, and Oishi, of course, is the heavy with the minigun, and it's glorious.
Excellent.
It's glorious. Anyway, I'll show you that after we beat the series.
That was my first time losing consciousness. You often hear of regaining consciousness on top of a bed, but this was my first time actually experiencing it. Hello? Oh, wait.
Oh, is this Syrian?
It must be.
Hello? Are you okay?
Realizing that I was awake, a young doctor called out to me.
Just some random dude.
I didn't intend to respond, but it seems my body language had told him I was conscious. My head was wrapped in bandages. The scratches all over my body had also been treated. My sense of pain also returned with my consciousness, causing me to groan from the intense pain shooting all throughout me. Shooting. Good.
Ah, you son of a bitch. Don't try to get up. Just stay lying down, please. It seems that you took quite a few blows to the head. I want you to stay rested so we can monitor your condition for at least the next 24 hours.
Where is this?
This is my clinic. Pleased to meet you. My name is RIka.
I remember that this young doctor was the one in the car headed the opposite way earlier.
Woo.
Is there somebody here? Where's Oishi-san?
I'll call him over. There's no smoking inside the clinic, so I had him smoke outside.
He's just like dangling by his feet outside a window, suspended from like a cable. Yeah. But he's like completely okay with it.
Yeah, totally.
Dr. RIka left the room to go call Oishi. I never heard Rikushi repeat himself.
Never.
The scenery outside the window was tinted with gold. Ooh. The pouring rain had stopped with the voices of the Higurashi heralding the cool temperature. I felt that the tone of the Higurashi's voices was comforting. Eventually I could hear heavy footsteps coming closer, which I reckoned to be Oishi's. The fog that was enveloping my head slowly faded back to reality. What had happened since then? What had happened to the boy? What about the reinforcements from Tokyo?
What about the boy?
The boy?
Jerry!
The door to the room flew open, allowing Dr. RIka and Oishi to enter.
Oh, here we go. So, there's no serious damages there? I can't promise that. I assessed the wound to his head was dangerous the moment I saw it. Got it. I want to have a little chat along with him for a bit. Would you mind? Yeah, go ahead. Call me if anything happens.
Oishi, after basically teleporting Dr. RIka outside, shut the door.
How are you feeling?
I did something I'm not used to, so I'm pretty banged up all over. She brought over a folding chair that was leaning against the wall and sat down beside the bed. Were the perpetrators arrested?
Unfortunately, no. They've probably already fled the prefecture or being hidden by the villagers. Well, we won't let them get away. No,
What about the minister's grandson?
They're taking care of Jerry at the station, but your colleagues from Tokyo are rather insistent that nothing be recorded. Shige-chan doesn't like that too much.
The kidnapping was a confidential matter, so his custody was also being kept under wraps. How the kidnapping of the minister's grandson would be handled would be covered up, treated like it never happened, would be handled by the brass. If this case ended up without the nation going into an uproar about it, then our job would have been done. The possibility that the minister had negotiated with the perpetrators couldn't be ruled out. But something like that was no longer my concern. My role in this case was over.
Like spies and stuff.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Sorry for the trouble. You must think that the public safety is a rather unseemly place, don't you?
No, we all work on the government's dime.
Sir, yes. Uishi laughed boisterously. When we first met, I was somewhat prejudiced against Uishi, but now that feeling was gone completely.
It would be more convenient for us if this case was handled properly instead of being hidden away. If that happened, we'd be able to have something to go at the Sonozaki family with, since they were behind it all. Well, if we just start poking around Beehive, we'll get all sorts of pressure put on us though. So, what a mess.
You gonna continue the fight against the Sonozaki family after this?
Nah, there's all sorts of dark rumors swirling around it, but it's not like I have some kind of personal grudge. Nobody I know or am friends with has been killed yet, at all, so it's not like I have any reason to go after them, don't worry. It'd be wise not step on any toes here.
Uishi laughed happily and I couldn't help but laugh along.
Oh, that's right! There was word at the station from the prefectural police. Your colleagues arrived at Nagoya and are driving up here right now. You've got your battle scars, so you're being recalled to Tokyo, apparently. That's how it's shaking up. Good job, good job. Your work in Okonomiya is safely over.
I was being recalled to Tokyo. I inadvertently breathed a sigh of relief when I heard those words. I'm deeply thankful for your cooperation, Awiki.
Awiki?
Awiki.
Mr. Wiki.
I'm having trouble today.
That's alright. We're getting on the ball.
It seems the collaboration fee I paid you didn't go to waste.
I kind of meant that as a joke, though.
She took out his wallet, casually pulled out several large bills, and jammed them into the breast pocket of my shirt.
Oh? This isn't a refund on the collaboration fee, you hear. This is just me getting a little spending money. The booze around here is pretty good. Use this to buy yourself a little souvenir, my friend.
She flashed me a grin.
Good boy. If your injuries turn out not to be too serious, call me before you head back to Tokyo, will you? The old man and Sato-san said they'd like to sit at the table with you again.
I can't refuse that.
And no drinks this time, just some plain old fun.
They always say that. This world is done for if an active officer can cheat that blatantly.
It's not often that we meet someone who's more than a match for us. It's too bad you're going back to Tokyo.
When I heard the words going back to Tokyo from Uishi, I was reminded once again that I was relieved from my duties. Soon Yukiya would be giving birth. It might still be possible to attend the delivery that I had at one time given up on. When I thought that, the pain from my injuries became trivial. I wanted to hurry back to Tokyo and see Yukiya at once.
Can you pretend that your injuries are a bit more serious and hang around Okonomiya for a bit? I can introduce you to a few nice places. Of course, I won't make you pay for everything.
I'm terribly sorry, but I'll have to take a rain check on that.
Oh.
My wife is due to give birth any day now. I want to hurry back home.
Oh my, I didn't know that. Then you shouldn't be hanging around here, you have to hurry back home.
For a while after that, Uishi asked all sorts of questions about my wife, teasing and bantering with me. Lengthy pause. Spooky pause.
Well then, how do you feel? Think you can get up?
Yeah, it's not so bad, thanks to you. I can get up and walk no problem. I stood up and shuffled around for a bit, which seemed to amuse Uishi.
Nah, I just thought that you might not feel comfortable at the hospital in Namizawa. Though the area said he wanted you to stay overnight, but we still haven't caught the perpetrators. For the time being, this is enemy territory for you after all.
You're saying the hospital isn't safe?
Well, Doteria is somebody who's well regarded in community. I don't think anything will happen while you're here, but I'm more worried about your mental health.
I'd relaxed a bit now that things had progressed this far, but it was exactly as Uishi had said. When I realized that this was enemy territory, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. But the only thing left for me to do was leave. The chance that I would come to harm was logically fairly low, but that didn't mean I was completely safe. That's right, if I'm just gonna be lying down, then doing it in a hotel bed won't be all that different.
Right. I also think that's for the best.
At that moment, I caught a glimpse of the clock over Uishi's shoulder. It was the evening. The hours when I could call Yukie at the hospital were almost over. I wanted to tell her as quickly as possible that I'd be soon back at her side. Never heard Higurashi repeat himself.
Never.
Is there a public phone in the lobby?
Nah, you newlyweds are all like this. If I recall correctly, there's one by the register. I'll be waiting here, so go ahead. Pull out a cigarette. Do it.
Higurashi laughing.
Yay!
Jealous, I opened up the window and pulled out a cigarette even though he was in a hospital room.
Oh, you rascally devil, you.
Appreciative at how considerate Higurashi was, I set out to the lobby to find the phone.
Smoking in a hospital, considerate. Yeah, that's about right.
The lobby was just a short distance down the hallway from the hospital room. I thought that this hospital was a bit too grand for a village like this, but of course it was nothing compared to the general hospital Yukie was admitted to. Running inside a hospital wasn't the best of manners, but calling hours would soon end, so I dashed over in a hurry. There was nobody else in the lobby. It may be in the evening, but there was nobody at the reception desk. Well, this might actually be lucky for me. I wasn't planning to have a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to have someone listen to the conversation between me and Yukie. Taking a quick look around, I soon found the payphone. Digging around in my pockets, I grabbed a few coins. I was calling Tokyo from here, so I'd burn through this amount fairly quickly. I picked up the receiver and inserted a coin that dialed the number for Yukie's hospital, which I had completely memorized at this point.
Where?
We know that there's phone sound effects on file. Why did we write this out?
Where?
The number for Yukie's hospital had a lot of 8s and 9s, so dialing it inevitably took some time. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but currently any time was precious. However, I felt that something was strange as I was dialing in the number. Here we go, someone's died!
No, it's fine, everything's fine. Don't worry.
I don't know exactly how to put it, but it was as if the receiver was too quiet. That unique white noise from the telephone line wasn't there.
Question mark?
Somehow I felt I wasn't getting any feedback from the phone, and without feeling a response, I hung up the receiver to try again. The coin popped out from the return slot. I reinserted the coin and began dialing once again, but the receiver was still dead silent. What is this? Is it disconnected? While I was wasting time like this, the amount I had to spend talking with Yukie shrunk. I began to feel needlessly impatient.
Phones are, like, weirdly important in this series. Like, a lot of the really, like, high-intensity scenes occur on phones.
You're right.
It's great. Like, I'm into it. It's just a weird detail. I wonder why Higurashi, like, loves phones so much as a source of tension. Excuse me? Oh, you're calling out.
Yeah. Excuse me. I felt the presence of someone on the other side of the glass, so I called out. There's an immediate response, and a man who seemed like a pharmacist came over.
Yes, how can I help you?
Pardon me, this phone seems to be acting a little strange. Could you take a look at it? The man came over and tried testing various things with the receiver pressed to his ear. Come to think of it, this was someone who worked at the hospital, and someone from the phone company. Just as I didn't know much about phones, neither would he.
Ah, what's this?
The man held up the cord that connected the phone to the wall. It was completely severed.
Oh shit.
Big spooks!
Weird! Why is the phone cut, Felix?
Who knows?
What?
What the heck is that?
What? Well, this is a dilly of a pickle, said the man. Can't do anything with this until somebody from the phone company comes and fixes it.
Probably just like solder it back together.
If you're looking for a phone, do you want to use the one in the office? Said the man. But who was phone, Felix? What's happening?
I didn't want the people in the hospital office around while I was talking.
Oh my goodness.
Is there another payphone close by?
Let's see, if you leave here and you follow that road, you'll come out into the shopping district.
This cannot go well for him.
I think there's a smoke shop on the corner around there. If you head that way, you should be able to find one soon enough.
This is not going
So
well
Felix,
for him.
before we go anywhere,
Yes.
who was phone? What's happening? Why is the phone line cut?
Why is a phone line cut?
Who's done it? What's happening here, Felix? Tell me your
Obviously,
feelings.
RIka
Okay, why?
was unhappy with his lack of promptness at going back to Tokyo.
Okay.
So was going to have cut a trail of payphones back to Tokyo that he's going to follow in order to make this phone call.
That makes sense to me. So you think it was RIka with like those little like
No, probably just a teeth.
rubber scissors or something with her teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got electrocuted and died.
Yeah, but she's like invincible, so it's fine.
Alright, fair enough.
The only thing that can kill RIka is the plot.
It's true.
I was dressed in a hospital gown. I was wearing sandals on my feet. My head was wrapped in bandages. Just looking at me, you could tell I was a hospital patient. No matter how you looked at it, I was not dressed to be wandering around outside, so just use the one in the office. That's where the impetuousness of youth came in.
The impetuousness of youth, yes!
How difficult would it be to just walk into the office, see the maybe one or two people that are in there, and just go like, hey, I want to make a private phone call. Would you guys mind waiting outside?
I don't think they'd let him. They'd be like, "What are you doing walking around? You got injuries on you. Go back to bed."
Well, they haven't asked him that yet, and he's already talking.
Well, Akasaka's a smart man, okay? He knows when he's in one of them plots where it's like, it's aliens, and you're like, I just want to talk to someone about the aliens. And they're like, okay, come into this room here. And they lock you inside, and the aliens eat your brain.
That sounds
he knows.
Right. You're telling me that Irie is an alien?
Yes.
Confirmed.
All aliens. It was
using
aliens.
the chance to talk to Yuki for even
aliens
a little
and
longer.
ghosts.
I headed outside in my current state. What do you mean? There's a phone right next to you in the
alien
building.
Ghosts are coming for you, Akasaka. Get out of there.
Follow the road to the shopping district. Should be able to find one soon enough. With only those 2 lines as my guide, I ran outside the gates of the hospital. With the village nestled in a valley, when the sun set, it got dark quickly.
I went on this road.
The sparse streetlights lit up enough to start attracting moths. The Higurashi, knowing the time for their course was soon to close, redoubled their fragile cries. Finding the payphone wasn't as easy as the person at the hospital had suggested. Was it still up ahead? Did I miss it already? Was I just getting farther away? Just as I was about to be crushed by a wave of uncertainty towering over me, I found a shop on the corner with cigarettes written on a small sign. My joy spurred me onwards. Just as I had heard at the hospital, set next to the counter of the cigarette shop was an antiquated payphone. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. Probably didn't have much time left, though. But it was enough. Just as long as I could tell Yukie my job was done and I'd be coming home soon. Picking up the receiver, I slid a coin down the slot. But I felt that something was strange, just like at the hospital. Even after inserting the coin, the phone showed no response because it's already rung and someone's on the other end. I hung up the receiver and tried putting in the coin one more time, but there was absolutely no response. This phone was dead. It couldn't be. Thinking that, I felt along the cord that protruded from the back of the phone. Doing that, my hands found the end of a completely severed line. Well, that's boring. We can't just have the same consequence twice over.
I know, right? Whoever's in charge of this game is real numpty.
Not to mention, the amateur didn't just go for the one in the office.
But then you have to, like,
Doesn't
be
he know
social.
he's in a horror novel?
He's bad at talking to people, okay?
Doesn't he know he's in a horror novel?
He doesn't like people. And they might be aliens, or ghosts, or both. Who knows,
Damn
dude?
this man.
Alright? He just understands.
What does he understand?
He understands that there are ghosts wandering about. He's gotta look out for them.
What is this? Well, it's a severed phone line, you idiot. Having now had the same thing happen twice, my bafflement was accompanied by a sense of unease. It seemed that the cord had been severed cleanly by the sharp blade of some sort, or a toddler's teeth. And I may be mistaken, but it didn't look like much time had passed since it was cut. How does one know that with a wire, Ben?
I don't know,
Pop
dude.
quiz.
I have no clue. There was still static. It's barking from the wire. Despite the fact that it wasn't connected anymore, and so it wouldn't have electricity running through it.
Well, I'd say the most, obvious way would be, how frayed it is, because once you've cut it, it's normally, straight and twisted still.
Sure.
But over time, it starts to, fray outwards.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Or maybe he literally, caught it as it was falling.
Or maybe he just doesn't know and he's an idiot.
Maybe that's also true. We're led to believe, that Akasaka is, more intelligent than Keiichi. Untrue.
What do you mean, untrue?
Untrue.
Just because Akasaka's an idiot doesn't mean that Keiichi can't be more of an idiot.
It's fair. It's fair.
Excuse me, hello? Opening up the booth window of the tobacco shop, I looked for someone in the dimly lit interior. Eventually, there were the sounds of somebody plodding down some stairs, and an old lady appeared.
Oh!
The old lady's plodding and lethargic steps, for some reason, only served to make me more frantic.
You need some cigarettes. I'll need to get my husband.
Not here to buy cigarettes, rather this phone here. Realizing that saying the phone was broken and asking them to take a look at it was going to get me nowhere, I swallowed back my words. Sorry, it seems that this phone is broken, and I was wondering if... See, I was right. He's going to go on a trail of payphones back
All the way back to
Tokyo.
Tokyo.
And I was wondering if you could
Man
tell me...
vanishes from hospital, lost in wilds.
Tell me where there's another payphone. The old lady moved her jaw up and down slowly as if chewing the meaning of my words. It seemed she wouldn't understand if she had digested things thoroughly.
Some good imagery. So, the phone is broken. That's a Dilly of a pickle right there.
Now that's a line I've heard recently.
That's a Dilly of a pickle. You should try another payphone.
The old lady directed me to another payphone that seemed quite a ways away.
Could you point me to a payphone? You should go to a payphone. There is a payphone. I love it. It's good.
Her way of telling me was so long-winded that I inadvertently seemed to get impatient rather than just going back to the hospital to the phone that the man told me about.
You wouldn't even have to pay for it, except that the ghosts do not track coin payphones.
You're right. At that moment, I spotted a clock in the dim interior of the store. The minute hand was just about to point straight up. Even if there was a phone right here that I could use, I'd only be able to tell Yukie good night with the time I had left. On top of that, my destination was a remote payphone which I didn't know the exact distance to.
2.
2.
No, 2. You got it right the first time. 2. I didn't know the exact distance. 2.
Oh my god, it does say no. I didn't even realize.
I thought we were out of it. Oh, it's been so good over the last couple of pages.
If I was of a normal state of mind, deciding to give up the phone today would have been the natural thought process. But once again, it could just be reduplication, Ben.
Yeah. What?
But at that moment, I had become somewhat stubborn for some reason. Unable to use the phone in the hospital and coming out here and still being unable to use one. There's no mistaking that I've become quite insistent on using a phone rather than just going back to the one in the hospital.
He just doesn't want to get caught by the ghosts. All right?
Thank you very much. I'll try looking for that phone booth.
You do that, dearie. Oh, boy.
Refusing her offer to draw me a map, I left the tobacco shop.
It's a pretty kind offer to draw him a literal map of the area. That'd be handy. Maybe she could, mark all the payphones so you could just go from one to the next.
You're right. According to the old lady, even though the phone booth was quite far away, it would be easy to find. If I just followed this road straight down, I'd eventually find it. Sandals flapping as I ran, I couldn't help but laugh at myself.
Aha!
I'll admit that I was quite steadfast about calling Yukie, but there were days when I was tired or busy when I wouldn't call her. Even today, my entire body was covered with injuries and I was dead tired. On top of that, there wasn't much time left. It wouldn't be strange at all if today was one of those days I didn't call her. But having twice been foiled trying to call her, I had become hot-headed about it. Was I like a dog who was being told to stay with a piece of food dangled in my face? No, because, you see, if you were a dog with a piece of food dangled in your face, you would have just gone for the phone in the office. I'm not letting this go, Ben.
He just doesn't want to deal with people, okay? He's antisocial.
What am I doing? Even so, I somehow couldn't quell the uneasy feeling sitting in the pit of my stomach. It was like that with the hospital phone, and the same with the one at the tobacco shop. Both cords were definitely not severed from being frayed by long years of use. The clean cuts indicated that someone had taken something sharp and deliberately cut them. But who, and for what reason? The more I thought about it, the uneasier I felt, so I tried to push the thought aside. He hasn't noticed that 2 people said exactly the same thing either.
No. That's a Dilly of a pickle.
How much did I run so far? Scenery around me was no longer that of a shopping district with residential buildings scattered about the lonely road. The surroundings had already grown dark. I was blatantly out too far for a quick phone call, so it was quite obvious that I was removed from the hospital. I recalled the clock I saw at the tobacco shop. It might almost be time. I'd run for quite a bit, so my breathing had grown quite ragged. If I just wanted to hear Yukie's voice, I should have thrown away my reservations and borrowed the phone in the office. You're correct!
Why didn't he? Well, why didn't he?
I regretted it a little.
Just a little.
Well, then was it about time to give up? Just when I thought that, I saw the light in front of me. I'd finally found it. It was a phone booth, and at the bottom was a young boy with his throat gouged out.
Oh no!
But it was like 2 years too early, at least.
Oh shit! It's Keishi's ghost!
5 years. It seemed the light in the phone booth had recently been changed as it shone with a vivid white light, although in the gloom of Hinamizawa is nothing more than a gathering spot for moths. I feel like RIka, she's trying to push the whole thing of, Akasaka being the moth in this case.
Sure. No, I feel that.
It's just interesting.
He's being drawn from phone booth to phone booth.
Insects just seem to be a cause of trouble in this series. So the moment we start comparing, people to crabs, though that's not really an insect, but they have 6 legs, close enough.
Yeah.
And, Akasaka to moths.
Insects are fragile things after all.
Yes. Unless radiation.
Yep. There's no radiation here. Don't worry about it.
But in any case, I'd finally found it. As my hand touched the door of the phone booth, I realized I was breathing and sweating heavily. Didn't know what time it was right now, but even if it was just for a moment, I might be able to get in touch with Yukie. Since I had spent all this effort getting here, turning back without giving it a try was out of the question. But this one was almost cut, and then the mysterious man walks out of the darkness and says, what a dilly of a pickle, and then hands me a pickle, and that's the end of the chapter.
You gotta give him the pickle!
Before I pickled up the receiver, and another wave of uneasiness washed over me.
This is a good yoke.
I was worried that this phone cord might be severed as well. How was the cord in this phone booth? Squatting down, I followed the bundle of cables as they ran along the corner into the ceiling. At a glance, nothing was out of the ordinary. I ran my fingers as far as I could along the line to check it out. The only thing they found was a thick layer of dust. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Just call the phone.
I wonder if it was popular in Hinamizawa to cut the cords of payphones as some sort of tasteless prank. It might be prudent to talk to Uishi-san about this later. Even if it was nothing more than a prank, it was still vandalism of public property.
The cult of cord cutters.
Yes.
So what we're dealing with? The case of the cult of cord cutters. Sorry, Akazaka. And the Wishi.
In any case, this one was fine, this time. Pulling out a coin from my pocket with one hand, I picked up the receiver with the other. But this time, before the receiver even reached my ears, I felt something was off.
Oh boy.
The receiver was light. It was more than slightly unpleasant feeling. It felt almost like it felt almost sickening.
What's going on, Felix?
They've probably just cut the cable on the phone end instead of the box end this time.
Oh no.
To verify the source of my displeasure, I peered at the receiver in my hand with a measure of reluctance. What the hell is this? What a dilly of a pickle! The coiled cord. Just.
Oh shit.
I'm shocked. The coiled cord that connected the receiver to the rest of the phone had been ripped apart, the tip of the cable swaying in the air. It was all I could do to restrain myself as a raw and unpleasant feeling worked its way up the small of my back. It was a type of dread. That moment I heard the crunch of somebody stepping on gravel.
Who could it be?
I swear to God, if they don't open with a dilly of a pickle, I'm gonna be upset!
That's right, I got you. Don't worry. I'll get you, boy.
The light was reflecting off the glass walls of the booth, leaving me unable to see outside into the darkness. I steeled myself and stepped out of the phone booth.
Oh shit.
The inside of the booth was lit with that strong light, which might have made it warmer in there. Just stepping outside, I could feel a chill wash over me. And there was the silhouette of a person.
Oh shit.
A small silhouette. You better do it, Ben. The long hair of that silhouette was blown about by the cool breeze.
Well, isn't this a dilly of a pickle? Injured people shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital.
Somewhere in my head I knew who this girl was. I didn't have any basis for it, but I knew that she was that girl.
Right, Akasaka?
She, RIka Furude, said that almost like it was a warning. Almost? Did you do this to the phone cord?
Me.
Her expression remained unchanged and my question was left unanswered.
Pickles.
In other words, no response. Regardless, I felt that she had affirmed my suspicions. Why would you do something like this? Why? The last word had a tinge of anger behind it. I frantically tried to smooth things out, but she didn't seem very afraid.
There's nothing that can be done.
Huh? Also, I would like to point out, I probably should have made this connection a few moments earlier.
Yeah.
But it was all the old people reciting the same line over and over again.
It was,
And
yeah.
who do the old people worship?
Who do
in the
they
village?
listen to?
Ah.
Sadako.
Huh? I interpreted her words as meaning that I wasn't going to be in time for calling hours at the hospital. But thinking about it, that would have been a strange thing to say. Why would she know something like that? I could take... This is the first that we just, you haven't really pieced together the weird puzzle here.
He doesn't figure it out. He's too blinded. He's blinded by love
I could
and
take
fear of
what she had
ghosts.
said to have any other meaning. She just stood there like a mannequin, not even moving an inch. Almost to the point that if the wind wasn't occasionally rustling through her long hair, there would be the illusion that time had stopped.
Oh shit.
Pause for effect. Maybe time has stopped.
Maybe time has stopped. I know very well that you think I'm disgusting, Akasaka.
Now that's just plain untrue.
That's just rude.
Don't put words in this man's mouth.
I don't know.
Huh? No? That's not true.
See? Even he agrees with you.
My denial came out almost like a bad piece composed for a poetry slam.
That's such a... What? It's so out of left field. I love it.
But her words were right on the mark. What? Akasaka!
You meanie, you can't say that about RIka. She's like the second or third best girl in the story.
Now I don't even feel bad about him not taking the phone in the office. He deserves this.
He does.
I always felt something ominous and uncanny about her, ever since her strange threats at the shrine.
Hee hee.
Really is not an attractive face. She'd noticed that my expression was contrary to my words, seemingly laughing at the gap between them.
Akasaka, you coward.
I'm not a coward. Being laughed at by the small child didn't sit well with me, so I said that.
Even if you find another phone, it's too late.
That's right. She didn't even have to say it. It was absolutely too late. I've already missed calling hours even by the time I reached this phone booth. It was too late. I had no option but to give up for today. Once I decided that, my unhealthy obsession with phones suddenly faded.
That's a fucking line.
Now I'm upset about the office phone again. Even I thought it was strange that I was that obsessed. That strange obsession now gone, I began to laugh at how hopeless I was. I mean, just look at what I was wearing. It wasn't normal. Hospital gown and sandals. My head wrapped in bandages, my body completely soaked in sweat. It was a wonder that the old lady at the tobacco shop wasn't surprised to see me.
It is a wonder.
It's almost like she was in on it.
What? No.
With wanting to hear Yuki's voice as my motive, I had traipsed around town the entire evening. I didn't know whether to call it the follies of youth or simply plain embarrassing. So embarrassing, just like the phone in the office would have been. In any case, it was all I could do but to laugh at myself.
Now, there's nothing left for Akasaka to do tonight.
You're right, there's nothing. I'll just quietly return to the hospital.
That's fine. Do you know the way?
I hope I do. She waved her little hand as I began to head back the way I came. She began to follow alongside me. Looking at her face, I could see that she wore a mischievous smile, as if she was extremely interested in whether or not I would get lost. Is RIka-chan's house also this way?
It is.
Would your parents be mad that you're walking around alone at this hour?
Not really. My parents are busy today, so they probably forgot about me.
Even then, it's best if you head on home. They'll definitely be angry.
Even if they are, it's much more interesting to talk with Akasaka, so I'm fine.
She said that with a face free from worry as she looked up at me once more and smiled. When she showed me that smile, the eerie feeling surrounding her faded, but even then she was still as mysterious to me as ever. We arrived at the corner I had turned out earlier. It was much darker than before, and with the point of view changed on the return trip, I wasn't very confident this was actually the corner I turned at. It's not a mistake, it had to be at this corner. As I began to move my feet again, their girl grabbed onto my clothes.
Isn't Akasaka going back to the hospital?
Of course, at least I intend to. Am I going the wrong way? A short moment of silence. Eventually, still holding onto my clothes, she began to walk. It was the beginning of the walk to the hospital this mysterious girl would take me on.
And that's
Well, there you go.
the end of the chapter.
Oh my god.
We went for a walk with a little girl through the woods, and there were lots of phones with the lines cut. And there was a Dilly of a Pickle all around.
It was a Dilly of a
That
Pickle.
better be the name of the episode.
It will be, sir. Shall we continue?
Yes!
Let's get on this.
Let's do it.
I'm excited. It's a Dilly of Pickle, after all.
It is!
The person who was running around cutting all the phone cords was you, wasn't it, RIka-chan?
What?
You shouldn't do that anymore.
Why not? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Really? She tried to play dumb, but it was written all over her face. Was it?
Nippon star.
It was obvious she was trying to laugh it off, but that adorable smile of hers just made me want to forgive her. Why not just arrest her? You're a police officer. I'm gonna be a horrible father, aren't I?
Can't arrest her, she's too cute. She says, Nippon.
A momentary lapse in tension was erased by her next words.
Uh-oh.
Here it comes.
It's good that they found their grandson safe and sound.
Unable to respond right away, I sunk into silence. I had already learned this from Sato-san's info, didn't I? This girl, no, this entire village knew everything since the moment I set foot in it. I considered playing dumb, but in the end I chose not to. With everything being known already, there was no point in me feigning ignorance. Somehow.
That's great. Now you can go back to Tokyo.
Thank you.
Are your injuries bad, Akasaka?
No, I haven't heard anything from the doctor yet, so I don't know if they are or not. Well, come to think of it, I vaguely remember being told to lie down and take it easy for at least 24 hours. Does that mean bed rest?
The wounded should be sneaking out of the hospital.
People shouldn't be cutting phone cords.
Me. Meep. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And I don't know what you're talking about either. As we played dumb with each other, we both laughed at the same time. If somebody saw us laughing at each other like this, it would probably bring a smile to their lips.
That's a good line.
I just love the momentary pause as we both read the whole line, and we're like, oh, she did just say that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The chances of Akasaka leaving this village alive weren't very high. I don't want Akasaka to die, so I'm glad you're leaving the village alive.
RIka-chan, did you know what I was right from the beginning? She said nothing but gave a firm nod. And I think you know this, but we're probably somewhat of an enemy to the people in this village, I would think, but you still gave me lots of warnings. That's right, she said it at that time. She wouldn't warn somebody she was okay with dying. She definitely said something like that. Then I should probably be thanking you.
You probably should. I'm your savior.
Saying that, she puffed up her chest proudly. She said it jokingly, but the meaning behind those words was quite heavy. Your line didn't sound jokingly, Ben.
That's right.
Artistic
license, exactly.
That was because whether I lived or died was a decision that might have been made in a place unbeknownst to me. She said those words with such an adorable smile that it took a few moments of silence for their weight to settle in. I'd been to this place before. The Defense Alliance's office was there. I told you they weren't going straight away. It was the stone steps leading up to the Frude Shrine. I passed by before. I was so focused on finding a phone booth I hadn't realized where I was. Maybe he hadn't passed by it and this is a detour. If I recall correctly, this shrine is RIka-chan's house, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Looking up at the shrine grounds, it was brightly lit and energetic voices could be heard. What was going on? Ritual sacrifice!
There's a festival today.
Oh my god, that
What
means...
festival is it, though?
That means that we get the first murder tonight, doesn't it? Or is
might
that
be.
next year? It's next year, isn't it?
I think it's next year,
Damn it.
I think it's next year. I'm sorry, my friend. Give it a year and come back and we'll see how it's going.
The festival.
The best and only festival in Hinamizawa. The Watanagashi Festival.
Watanagashi. Cotton drifting?
God damn it. Just knowing the name is boring. Do you want to take a look?
She asked bluntly, but seeing that I looked interested, she climbed up a couple of steps and motioned for me to come. I was only going to be back since sleep anyways. If I had nothing else to do, it might not be a bad idea to go with her on a little detour. Also, I like the idea that, the whole village attends the festival, but the two people that were both in on RIka's plot.
Just those two people.
That's a nice little detail. In the hostile territory that was this village, I didn't know what would happen if I ventured down a side road without Uishi.
You'll be fine.
Even though I thought of the village like that when I was with this girl, I forgot all about it. In any case, even without doing anything to back it up, I felt that as long as I was with her, none of the ill will of the village would befall me. That's why, even though I knew my cover was blown, I strangely had no qualms about setting foot into the heart of the Onigashima Defense Alliance territory in my hospital gowns with sandals on.
Yeah, this is fine. Don't worry about it. She wore with some pants on, but, that's fine. Those things don't have a back, do they? His butt's hanging out.
In most
He's
places,
walking along in the street of Japan with, like, a 5-year-old girl with his butt hanging out.
It depends. It depends.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll put the gown over the top of your other stuff, but considering that he was shot and had a head wound...
He's been talking about that a lot, about how he's just in his hospital gowns. He could have just taken it off if he was wearing his clothes underneath. So I choose to imagine that his butt is he's just full mooning it. Nice work, Akasaka.
He's just an absolute moron.
He's a mess. The poor guy.
Climbing up to the grounds of the shrine, I could see there were about 3 pavilions set up with meeting tables and folding chairs. The old folk from the village, the executives of the Defense Alliance, were already quite drunkenly sharing another round of drinks. I could only see it as people from the village council drinking while enjoying the evening air. At the very least, it was certainly quite different than any festival I'd ever seen.
See? It's quite a boring festival, isn't it?
It certainly doesn't look like a festival.
It's a festival that's happened since long ago, but as you can see, it's not like it used to be.
Draws scythe.
Yeah.
As if to chide the old folks.
As if thee to chide.
Oh, as if thee to chide.
Mm-hmm. Thee to chide.
Yes. Yep. She said that while looking at them with an exasperated expression. You really couldn't call this a festival anymore. It was just a bunch of neighbors getting together to drink under the guise of a festival. Isn't that what festivals are anyway?
Pretty much. That's
how festivals are.
They're just an excuse, yeah.
I feel sorry for the deity being celebrated here. Stares at camera.
Oh shit. Give this sorry excuse for a festival 5 or 6 more years, then everybody in the village will start coming.
Oh, it's such a great line.
It's great.
Oh, I love this.
Love
I love
RIka.
this arc.
RIka, best girl of
this
arc.
arc, despite its many flaws, has been so much better than it deserved to be.
It's such an interesting, a lot of these scenes are like, this is crazy that Higurashi's put this in his story, even though a lot of the other, bridging scenes are kind of garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like RIka running around in the dark cutting phone lines and hey, let's go to the Watanagashi Festival, that'd be cool. Guess what's happening in 5 or 6 years? A little bit pathetic.
I feel like I might have spoken about this already in the Arc 3 post-edit recap by the time this comes out.
Probably.
But it depends on how much in detail I choose to go in that. But I'm very quickly growing more and more suspicious of RIka, as I've addressed several times. You
shouldn't be suspicious. She's such a nice girl. She's just looking after everyone, trying to cut people's phone lines and damage public property.
While I was looking for evidence of Keiichi remembering previous arcs, I've started to realize that RIka may very well be doing the same thing.
What? Crazy.
And I'm very excited.
We'll have to see what happens then. the ceremony will also be done properly, and it will be a respectable festival again.
I also like the idea that RIka has just effectively said she's offing her parents to do the festival properly. What she said was not so much wishful thinking as it was a telling of a future that had already been determined. That's a line. She wasn't even predicting it. It was almost like she was simply reporting the results. That's another line.
Yep.
That's how it sounded.
That's the third line.
Even though it was baseless speculation, the way she said it wouldn't let me interject. It was the same way she talked when she said changed. Well, I struggled to find the word. Wait, what? Hold on. While she talked when she changed. Yes, okay.
When she changed. You said when she said changed.
Yes, that's what I was confused about, because
Yeah,
I was
we're
like,
good.
that doesn't make
We're
sense.
all go. We're all on the same
We've
page.
made it. We've made it into the future.
We've made it.
While I struggled to find the words to reply to her, she wandered over to the other side of the grounds, not minding me at all. Not in a state where I could afford to be left behind, I hurriedly followed after her.
Where are we going?
Passing through a copse of pine trees, a strong and cool breeze ruffled my hair. There from that one evening was the splendid observation platform the girl had shown me.
Oh, heck.
As it had grown completely dark, the modest lights littered across the nightscape were providing different types of scenery.
Looking at it like this village seems tranquil.
She said that with an indifferent look on her face. Just the other day you said that this village definitely wouldn't be submerged by the dam, didn't you? She didn't reply, seemingly relishing in the feeling of the wind blowing through her hair. Didn't that mean at that point in time the minister had already complied with the demands? She spun around, her gaze meeting mine, but she said nothing. She spoke nothing that would neither confirm nor deny what I had just said.
Yo!
This case will probably remain shrouded in darkness. Headquarters probably doesn't want trouble from a scandal with the minister breaking out.
There's no mistake that they threatened to kill the grandchild.
The negotiations with the minister were successful and the grandson was released.
The one who saved the grandson was you.
I wonder about that. The discovery of that wallet that started this chain of events. That alone was almost too convenient, I'd think. Ever since the moment that wallet was discovered, I felt something was odd. She said it as well. The Sonozaki family had given the order to release the hostage, meaning that our little manhunt was a farce to begin with. Come to think of it, I was punched, kicked, and had a gun pointed at me. Felt like they put up quite a fight, but that might have also been all part of a good performance. Once the negotiations were successful, they couldn't just say, here you go, and return the minister's grandson right to his doorstep. They knew that public safety had realized that this was a kidnapping case and were moving in on it. That's why, due to the actions of public safety, the grandson was able to be rescued safely, so the minister didn't give in to any unreasonable demands. That type of performance was necessary.
I do wonder, when we sort of left Oishi during that fight, he seemed to be losing, but he came back around to, like, save Akasaka. Do you think he's in on it too?
You know, I had thought about this, but I don't think so, because I feel like Uishi's, like, code of honor
Yeah.
not only hadn't become so grey at this point,
Sure.
but also, like, was, you know, stronger.
Sure.
Like,
Maybe. I mean, he does give Akasaka back his money. Maybe he, like, felt bad about it and was like, well, I'll give you your money back because he got shot.
yeah, like, I don't know. I think Uishi at this point in the story seems like more of a trustworthy but goofball police officer
Sure.
than he does a scheming man. But at the same time, I will say that the fact that he specifically mentions he doesn't have a grudge against the Sonozakis when clearly he later does,
Yep.
means that maybe he's working with them now, but then the death of his friend changes that for him.
Maybe.
And, you know, maybe that also explains why they so easily let him into the village rather than just, like, going hardline isolationist against him.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, something that is interesting is that Oishi, like, he plays pretty hardball with Akasaka to get information out of him. But then when he's like, hey, Akasaka, you should go talk to my contact, he doesn't say, like, I would also like to be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
He might already know everything that the contact has told him. Or maybe he was the person at the meeting.
Yeah, that's also true. I also think it would be reasonable to say that maybe because Akasaka spilled to Uishi then told everyone else.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I think that's probably the most plausible way that people in the village could have got the information, but that still doesn't seem within the character of Uishi as we know it.
Yeah.
But this is also not the character of Uishi that we know because his circumstances have changed so much since this time.
Yeah. I do think there's definitely a big part of this art to kind of question, because obviously from the very first arc we've had this idea of, like, is everyone in the town in on the murders. Are they all working together? In the second arc, we had, it was one of the twins. It was Mion, was it?
Yeah.
Leading the townsfolk, all that sort of stuff. And in this one, we're seeing more of that. We're seeing more of the council meetings and seeing how maybe Oreo doesn't know anything and she's just put up this big facade to make it seem like she's in charge, that sort of thing. And definitely questioning who knows who or who's in control of what and who's in on it is part of the conversation for sure.
Yeah, that. It's definitely a big contention with me, and I guess solving this arc, even though there's not
too much. No.
Yeah.
Higurashi actually wrote. I should have got this up. We'll talk about more in the recap, but he did one of his production logs actually talks about how if you already have a good idea what you're doing, you're not going to find too much to kind of figure out. In this arc, if you have no idea what's going on or a little bit, you might find a bit more to puzzle out. It might provide more hints. It's sort of an answer arc beta, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get.
He's kind of experimenting, even though it is technically one of the question arcs, he's experimenting with giving out more answers and exploring a different time period, which I really appreciate.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I don't know about these difficult things.
Likewise. Even for me, I can't make much sense of it, but there's one thing I can be certain of.
I think we got that backwards. 1 point to Ryukashi.
Oh, did we?
Yes. This is why we can't have discussions in the middle.
Because then we lose track of who's who.
Yes. It's just as you said. This village won't be submerged. The damn project will soon be over. It wasn't something an officer of the law should be saying, but I naturally let those words slip from my mouth. This village may have stirred up all sorts of trouble, but that was because they were protecting their homes. If someone just decided by themselves that I had to leave the house I was living in, I would resent them as well. On top of that, wasn't a place like mine where I just happened to be renting it, but a place their families had lived for generations. It might be ignorant to call their desperate resistance an overreaction. I might not really be qualified to criticize politics or bureaucracy, but deliberately building a dam on land that was loved by its residents wasn't something I could get behind.
I don't trust it now. Now you got me on edge, Felix. This is what happens. Alright. Still, aren't you glad?
Why would that be?
At the very least, with this, peace will return to this village.
Even though the minister promised to use his considerable influence to cancel the project, it would probably take more than a few months before it would be completely scrapped. At the very least, it would probably take 1 or 2 years. Just enough time for murder!
Yay!
For the villagers to officially hear their village wasn't going to be submerged at the bottom of a dam was still a ways away. But it was no mistake that the promise of peace returning to the village was there. It turned out from beginning to end that it had already been decided. Just as the girl had said, it was decided. There wasn't really a need for me to come here in the first place. There was absolutely no need for me to have come here and aggravate an unpleasant situation. If I had never come here, then the grandson's release might have been done in a more amicable manner. I don't believe that.
We definitely got those lines mixed up as well earlier. So I guess that's another point to Higurashi.
I guess it is.
That's right, we need to pay attention, we need to focus in, we need to get in the zone. Peace in this village.
When I nodded, she laughed as if to admonish me, but her face remained indifferent, expressionless, and altogether creepy.
Oh!
And then her eyes narrowed slightly as she snickered.
Even though every year from now, something bloody will occur.
RIka-chan, what are you talking about?
Nothing! Don't mind me with my hair blowing in the wind. Don't worry about it.
As the wind blew her hair about the girl as if taking pleasure in that I was the only one who didn't know. Continued to snicker as she looked at my face for a while.
You see, in a few years, I'll be killed.
Huh? Backlit by the moon, it was hard to tell if her expression had been cast in shadow, smiling, amused, or resigned. You are. Why?
It's a very unpleasant thing, though. It's also probably been decided already.
Decided already? Who would decide that sort of thing?
I'd like to know that as well.
Stares at camera.
Higurashi!
Turning back to face me. Oh my god, she did! She showed me a resolute expression for the first time. After staring into my eyes for a moment, she turned back to gaze at the scenery before she spoke her next words.
There's a lot of people who have no regard for human life. Even if I tell you this, it might not change anything, though. But if you want to erase the specter of death, sometimes Like with the reflection of the moon on the water, all you have to do is throw a small stone.
I had no idea what she was trying to say. It's just I had to listen to every word with my body and soul, or at least that's what I thought. I don't know if it's just cold in the room, but this may actually be the first time I've gotten, like, chills at a point in the story.
It's good shit. This day next year, yes, June 1979, on this day, the foreman of the dam construction project will be killed.
Well, now, RIka, this is just unfair. What? For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what she was talking about. By the foreman, did she mean that gruff old man I played mahjong with? But be killed? Makes you think she didn't answer. But she had the same expression on her face as she did when she declared the dam project would go away. That wasn't the face of somebody making a forecast or a prediction. It was something that was already decided. No, it was as if she was already reporting the results. That sort of expression. See, on the one hand, I would like to say, I've never heard Higurashi repeat himself, but I feel like this is one of the times
a good scene.
This is like him very explicitly.
This is him hammering a theme home, for sure. After being killed in a gruesome manner, the body will be torn apart and disposed of.
Okay, these are actual chills. It's not just the room.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, it's all tingly.
Yeah.
Murdered and dismembered.
The next year, in June of 1980, on this day,
I'm grinning so big.
Satoko's parents will be pushed to their deaths.
Who's Sadako? Sadako was the first time I heard that name, but I didn't have the courage to interrupt the girl's story.
It might be an accident, an unfortunate accident.
I can't take this scene seriously.
It's good, isn't it?
I'm smiling so much. The girl smiled faintly, but she wasn't exactly encouraging me to smile along with this lifeless look in her eyes.
And then, the year after that, this day, in June of 1981, my parents will be killed. And then the year after that, this day in June of 1982, Satoko's abusive aunt will have her head split open and die. And then the year after that, this day in the June of 1983...
I swear to God, if he cuts here...
Or possibly a few days afterwards...
Don't you dare cut.
Don't worry, you won't. I will be killed.
I was really hoping we were gonna get a bit more than that. If all the deaths are preordained, then the last ones would all be according to plan. But whose plan would it be?
Ooh, blah.
I don't know.
It's freaky.
This village is full of murderers and people who have no regard for human life. It would be fine to believe that all of the deaths up to 1982 would be the work of somebody in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that would occur would at the discretion of those who control the village. I feel like this is...
I think this might be
you
me.
Want to read this page again?
Yeah. I want to take all the time I can playing, we'll call it adult RIka.
Yeah.
This village is full of murderers and people who have no regard for human life. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths up to 1982 would be the work of somebody in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that would occur were at the discretion of those who control the village. But that didn't explain what would happen in 1983. There was no way that the last death would fit in with anybody's plans. They had no regard for human life. They would use every means at their disposal to meet their goals. But their goals were at odds with the last death. That's why the last death was unrelated to them.
Excuse me, what?
I love the way that Higurashi writes this character. This is so fucking good.
Excuse me, what? What does this mean?
I don't know, dude.
First of all...
The last death was unrelated to them.
First of all, it was like... it's like, you know... people in this village, whatever, and then we get to they.
Yeah.
They.
Who is they?
Their goals.
It's great.
Oh. I mean, obviously Takano, but like, why?
It's so good. Right.
Why?
I don't know, dude. What's going on here?
But, like, I mean, I'm obviously on the suspect Takano hype train still.
Sure.
But like...
I thought you were suspecting RIka.
I mean, I'm always suspecting everyone. That's how this whole game works.
I know, but you gotta pick someone to be most suspicious of.
But like...
It's the whole premise. You'll figure it out with your detective skills.
Well, the thing is the way that this... what's on screen right now...
Yeah.
...makes it seem... is there was no way the last death would fit in with anybody's plans.
Okay.
Now...
Yep.
That makes it seem like RIka's plan was to, like, do 1979 to 1982.
Okay.
But 1983 wasn't part of her plan. But she already knows it's gonna happen. So if it's not part of her plan, so it can't be RIka. All
Sure.
right.
They can't be RIka.
They can't be
The
RIka,
person they're referring to
alright?
as they.
Uishi
Probably.
clearly can't be his plans because it's his friend, and that seemingly seems to be what breaks him rather than what makes him.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Maybe he does both.
Maybe. Okay. Irie off the table. Introduced too late. Mion.
Uh-huh.
All right. That's definitely a contender.
Yeah,
Definitely a contender.
sure.
Rena, definitely a contender, but less so.
What? How could you suspect Rena? She's so innocent. Wouldn't hurt a fly.
All right. Okay, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, Takano, I feel like, you know, I don't associate her with the last death being unrelated either. Like, the way that it was presented last arc, where it's like, oh, we come up and there's a cleaver and Rika's a trash bag and crows. Like, is that meant to be the consistent between Worlds 1? Is that meant to be the different between Worlds 1 in the same way that what's happened to Keiichi each arc has been different? Who else have I missed? Tomataki. I don't think so. I mean, I guess it's plausible if you say that his death was faked and, like, he, you know, he staged that last murder, but, you know, the whole thing of him being in the village for other reasons definitely throws that one a line to make it plausible, but, like, that's just bundling it in with Takano at that point, so...
Sure.
Like, if it's those two, I feel like they're working together in some capacity because of the way that they operate as a pair.
What about Keiichi and his family?
Well, I've been thinking about that. Because I've said several times that the fact that they've moved to here when his work is still back in Tokyo,
Yeah.
makes it very plausible, if not, like, undoubtable, that Keiichi's father moved out here for some other reason. But Keiichi, I don't think, would have had any involvement with the previous deaths, especially considering the way that they're presented to him in the first arc.
Maybe.
Unless we're going into the whole thing that he has, like, memory loss. But that seems really, really doubtable. Like, that's not a theme that I think we've really been presented with, except for momentary things of like, oh, my mind tried to blank out what I just did.
I mean, except for, like, the whole of Higurashi, but, like, well, you know, that weird shit with, like, line jumping or whatever that was.
Well, like, okay, let me rephrase myself. Like, there's obviously been moments where, like, his memory has been obscured and things haven't been portrayed properly. But, like, we very clearly have a history for him before arriving in Hinamizawa that has that consistent story that, like, his father wanted to move here for work. And, you know, he went to cram school and all that stuff. So, like, unless we're saying that a facade and a lie for him having lost his memory and actually just being a psychopath and murdering people at the age of 10 in 1979 or something along those lines. Right. Like, it's not off the table, but it's teetering. So I don't know, like, I'm still hardcore on the Takano bandwagon here, mainly Takano. I'd say probably Mion's my second pick.
Right.
Because I don't think it can be RIka because it, you know, she already knows it and she says it was unrelated to her, which it clearly can't be.
Okay.
But then I don't understand, like, I don't understand with any of them how the last death is unrelated.
I don't know, dude. It might be one of the mysteries.
Unless what it's saying is that Keiichi's actions are the thing that's unrelated.
Maybe.
That, like, RIka dies every time, but that's not the last death that fits in with everybody's plans. That's
maybe.
just something that happens alongside. That's probably what I'm going to go with because I can't really think of anything that works otherwise.
Right.
But I still want to try and make it work otherwise because,
For sure.
you know, you gotta poke at it, right? You gotta poke the bear.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what happens, I suppose.
It's such a weird page. Oh my god.
Continuing on. But that last death would definitely, most likely, probably, without question, happen. Probably, definitely, I dare say, the last death would be a merciful one. A handkerchief or something being placed over their mouth, making them lose consciousness never to wake up again. Exactly whose plan was that? I want to live happily. That is my only wish. Surrounded by my precious friends, spending our days enjoyably. Only that. I don't wish for anything more than that.
Rika-chan.
I don't want to die.
The girl, stoic as ever, let those last words slip in the end. God, what a fucking scene.
It's fucked.
Eventually we were discovered by some old... Where did the word old come into my mouth there? By some drunks!
Yeah.
The girl, as well as I, were dragged back to the festivities. Everybody was completely drunk, so even when they saw my head completely wrapped in bandages, they wouldn't let me leave. Well, certainly, if I was in a good enough condition to slip out of the hospital, it must not be that serious. The girl was mingling with everybody, being pampered like a kitten. Her expression was adorable, nothing like the one from just before. Predicting her own death and whispering she didn't want to die. Having said that, having a silly and lively conversation like this, it was hard to believe that these people were the core of an extremist resistance group. Even if it was a shell of its former self, it was a festival where people in the village gathered, so the 20-some-odd townfolk should have included some members of the village executives and other important members. Among those, there was no doubt that there were members that were at the Sonozaki family council in attendance. Meaning even if we never met face to face before, there were people who knew my identity. In a small village like this, they knew the faces of all the villagers that lived here. That's why without even saying anything, it soon became obvious that I was an outsider. But they actually seemed interested by that, asking me all sorts of questions about Tokyo, drinking while musing on the faint relationship the city had with villagers and empathizing with the rather meager environment. The confidential talks with the minister were finished, his grandson was in police custody, everything was over. And I'd have to be put in another perilous situation. To me, they were only my adversaries because of my job. Outside of that, there was no reason I couldn't be friendly with them. The next time I visited the village, would it return to being a tranquil and beautiful place? If that happened, I might be able to take a relaxed walk around the village with her again. The cup was once again filled to the brim with beer. It doesn't sound healthy for your medical recovery.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
By the time I was able to get away, it was the middle of the night. The girl had at some point disappeared. Seems her parents had told her to go home and sleep when she let out a large yawn. The old folks, who had absolutely no remorse for making an injured person hang out with them, told me as much as they laughed. I was just there drinking, so I thought to help a bit with the cleanup. However, my help was refused on the grounds I was a guest. On top of that, they had a car prepared to take me back to the hospital. Losing the battle against my sleepiness inside the car, I was sound asleep until we reached the parking lot of the hospital. The front door of the hospital was naturally locked at this hour. I wandered around bewilderedly searching for a back entrance until somebody on night duty found me and let me inside.
Well, why are you this late at night? Dr. Eri was worried, you know.
Sorry for the trouble, I was held up by the people having a festival at the shrine.
Oh, they did say something about everybody in the town council getting together for a drink. My condolences. Are your wounds all right?
Throbbing a bit is probably because of the alcohol, I think.
Oh, that's right. The detective that was with you wanted to get in touch.
I kept Uichi-san waiting. I glanced at the clock. No matter how you looked at it, it was way too late to call him now. I'll apologize him to tomorrow over the phone. To tomorrow? Brain.
It's alright.
Get back in your head.
It's late at night. Alright, we've got to get into the groove.
We do. I returned back to my hospital room and slipped into the bed that was still unmade from the time I went outside. That's no good. I'll have to turn off the lights. My weariness had cut the cord powering my body, lulling me to a deep sleep. That's a dilly of a pickle.
There you go. Awful. That was fun.
Oh, well, that was fun. Thank you for joining us for this incredible two-parter.
Yeah, we'll see you for the next one.
Will we?
I hope so.
Next time.
Next time.
Wait, what if we have tips? Tips.
Oh! Should we do tips?
Obviously do tips.
Alright, let's do it. Mother's Diary 1 to 3.
Prophecy at the beginning.
Oh, yeah?
This motherfucker with his clever tricks.
Gun boys.
Mother's Diary.
Let's read through them. Who's the mother, though?
Who knows?
There was something I didn't like about my child. I first realized it when I started writing these things down. They never warn you about it in any books about raising children, but they aren't just a plaything. If they aren't able to feel loved even when they're not doing exactly as their parents want them to, then those parents are failures. This wasn't something like that, though. How can I say it? It's probably harder to express with mere words. I just want my child to be average. As long as they weren't falling behind, there wasn't any need for them to excel at something. As long as they acted appropriately for their age, I would have been fine with it. But my child had been different ever since kindergarten. While the children in her class were running around in excitement about the field trip the next day, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant.
Until this page, it could have been any of the club.
I know. When the other kids broke the equipment for the athletics festival and were apologizing fervently, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant. When the teacher was reading a fun picture book, only she wasn't smiling. Even if they all got to eat a delicious bento, only she wasn't happy. If it was only this, it would still be in the realm of understanding. However, what I don't understand about my child is that if the aforementioned situations happen again, they'd now act in a manner befitting their age. I don't understand the principle behind that as a parent. Why were they indifferent about that field trip, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that picture book, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that bento, but happy about this one? The former and the latter in each situation seem exactly the same to me. There were even times when I thought the former one was better. I don't understand that child's feelings. During parent-teacher meetings, the teacher always says the same thing, and I would always respond that I don't understand my own child, and we would mope together. My husband, always the optimist, once said that a young child's feelings are different from an adult's, so if there were some things we didn't understand, we shouldn't worry about it. I lament his lack of urgency. One day, when I was in a good mood, I took the effort to prepare a menu that my child would enjoy, but she only smiled with a vague expression of disinterest. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. On a day when the weather was nice, the laundry I had just hung up to dry was blown by a large gust of wind, causing the entire line to fall down.
That's why I use a Hills hoist.
But she, watching me try to pick up the laundry in a panic, stood there laughing. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. I think the same sort of thing happened countless times. Before I knew it, my child was only able to look at me with an indifferent expression on her face. I regret the fact that I've been a bad mother. Thinking I should regain her trust, I thought to get it back little by little with some light interactions. Seeing her do some sort of craft work on the veranda, I called out to her. These past few days have been nice and sunny. The air feels nice, doesn't it? A child, with that indifferent look on her face I hated so much, looked up at me for a moment, then without a word returned to immersing herself in her craft work. Up until now, I would have hit her on the head just for that. I held myself back. What are you making? Is it a doll? A weather charm. A child was using inserts from the newspaper to deftly make some weather charms. The forecast hadn't called for rain, but that child in her own way was praying that these sunny days would continue. Being able to understand my own child for the first time in a while, I couldn't hide my own happiness. Bringing out a ball of yarn, I began to hang my child's cute weather charms from the eaves of the house. It's no good, RIka. The head's too heavy, you see. They've become reverse weather charms now. If they're like this, they'll call the rain instead of the sun. When I started to take them down, my child tugged at the hem of my shirt as if to stop me. That's because I made them to be upside down. They're fine. But RIka, if they're upside down, they won't be a charm that calls for a sunny day, you know. I was making a charm for it to rain, so they're fine.
Got him!
I desperately tried to suppress the emotions welling up inside of me. I was trying desperately to understand my child. I see. The morning glories of the garden were starting to get a little wilted from all the sun, so you wanted some rain, right? Her child turned to me with the expression that I hated the most. She gonna pop up on screen? No. I got bored of the clear weather. I don't understand. I just can't understand that child. What a weird little tip. I do love the tips in this chapter. They might be like my favorite out of all of the arcs. They might be my favorite tips because they're just really weird.
I definitely agree. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Mother's Diary, number 2. During the family council, she buried herself under Uryo-san's futon again. Oh, get ready. We might have to bring everyone back. You remember who you voiced?
I'm ready.
You were Papa Sonozaki and I was Mama Sonozaki, right?
I'm ready.
Thanks, sir. Oryo-san dotes on her unwaveringly. No matter whatever insolence my child commits, she doesn't mind. It's almost as though my child is a kitten or something. Oryo dotes on her exactly like you would a kitten. As her mother, I chided her for doing that. Until Oryo-san had said 3 times that it was fine, I chided her as a formality. Of course, she never lends an ear to any of my chidings. Knowing that Oryo-san's standing was far above mine, she behaves like that. I don't like the cunning that's unbefitting of her age either. In any case, not only Oryo-san, but the rest of the old folk in the village spoil her far too much. One day, I was surprised. By chance, on the way back from some shopping, I saw her by herself just outside a candy shop. My own child suddenly grabbed a snack, opened the package right there and then, and started eating it. She didn't make any attempt to pay for it, and she didn't even think of looking around. It didn't even feel like she was shoplifting, more like she were brazenly eating snacks that was offered to her. When I began to admonish my child, the elderly shopper appeared and covered for her. The owner gave the ridiculous excuse that he had said it was okay for that child to eat any of the snacks out by the entrance, so it was fine. When I tried to pay for the snacks that my child had eaten, the owner refused my money. During that exchange, more old folks had suddenly gathered around, and it began to feel like I was the one in the wrong. The elderly people all put their hands together, reverently in front of my child, and repeatedly voiced their respects. I was born into the Furude family, so it wasn't like I didn't know why she was being treated specially. When I was still young, it was something I heard often from my grandmother. If by chance the child that I gave birth to was a girl, that child would be the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. All the older folk believe that she's the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama and spoil her rotten. And not only did they spoil her, but they even told her that she was the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. She had divine power and threw all sorts of strange folktales her way. So she may have begun to believe herself that she was a special existence. I went around and told everybody that it wasn't good for upbringing, so to stop telling her all these strange things, but there was no one rooting the elderly people's deep-seated superstitions. I told my child not to listen to them, but it ended up being that she stopped listening to me. Between all the old folks in the village who would dote on her, and myself who only scolded her, there was no wonder who she would listen to. There was no mistaking that the reason she had become strange was because of the elderly villagers. There was no doubt that they had shoved her full of strange folk tales and superstitions since she was young. If it wasn't for that, there was no doubt my child would have been cute and normal. She would have been cute and normal. Apparently she's not cute or normal, Felix.
I mean, that much was obvious. But, you know, woe upon her mother for being so judgmental.
I know, right? She's being a bit of a biddy, let's be real.
The thing is right, is this cause or effect, right? Or are we in a time loop where it's cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect?
Effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
All right, well, let's jump in the third one. Let's do it. What's this mother got to say about their child? Hopefully there's no murder! One sunny parent-teacher day, there was a cooking class, and my child was making curry rice with a practice hand. While the other children her age were awkwardly using their kitchen knives, that child was wielding hers deftly. The teacher approached me with a smile on their face, saying it must be a result of learning it at home. I managed to play it off with a vague smile and a nod in response. It was because I had never once taught my child how to make curry rice. Even then, she was peeling vegetables with a practiced hand, adding them into the pot in the order of which took longer to cook. For a normal parent, they might unintentionally clap their hands together, happy at their child's actions. But in my case, it was different. There was no mistaking that somebody had taught her how to make that curry rice when I wasn't taking care of her. Thinking that, I quietly fell into an unpleasant mood. When I asked, it seemed she could also sew and do the laundry. I had never taught her how to do those, and again, never saw her do it around the house. Be it cooking, or sewing, or the laundry. Again, that was probably because the elderly villagers taught her all sorts of rubbish when I wasn't looking. Like doing the laundry and cooking and sewing. Yeah, all sorts of rubbish.
The worst.
Yeah.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
And not only that, they probably taught her all sorts of strange superstitions, trying to prop her up as a living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. I said as much to my husband, suggesting that we should keep our child away from the elderly folk.
Oh, God.
But my husband, who was in the position of being the head priest at the Furude shrine, had little power against the elderly who supported it. He took the rather uncommitted stance of saying that as long as she was being doted upon, wasn't it fine? I argued against that she was a child and should be a completely normal girl. But what is normal, really?
That's an excellent question.
Very philosophical one, I think.
Very philosophical. I would say she's being too judgmental again.
I agree. I think this lady, she's being too mean. If only she would just die. The elderly villagers believe that child has divine powers.
Are they wrong?
We would discuss the weather for the following day, but there were many times where I left the house with an umbrella and came back soaking wet. Rather than having clairvoyance, that was just secondhand knowledge from her watching the news all the time.
You watch Fox News a lot?
Apparently. The things that she knew that she shouldn't have known. The things that she knew that she shouldn't have known, but she knew anyway, because she was alone. That doesn't work. Yo, just a result of the people trying to keep her down, trying to indoctrinate her and the people who were gossiping, getting together in the village with their hands holding across America. Seeing that movie called Us, go watch that movie. However, there were certainly days when everybody thought...
Spoilers.
Maybe. There certainly were days when everyone thought it was going to be sunny all day, and that child would suddenly not go out without an umbrella. It would occasionally rain, and in the end, we would be saved. There might also have been times where RIka knew of major accidents in foreign countries, faster than the news did. I thought that she must have heard it break over the radio or something. The faster method of, the superior method of news broadcasting, one might say.
Radio was the Twitter of its day.
It's true.
That's not even a joke.
I guess so. Technology, how technology evolves. Knowing things she shouldn't have, something like that was in front of me right now, wasn't it? That child was making curry rice when there shouldn't have been anybody who taught her how to. No, that couldn't possibly be the case. Somebody had taught her, indoctrinated her. When I wasn't taking care of her, somebody had indoctrinated RIka with something. Fruiter's Oats curry is absolutely splendid. I'll give it a gold star. Nipa star. See, just like that star. That's where she learned how to say star.
Why has she written speech into her diary?
Because why not?
It's a good point. It is her diary. She can do what she wants.
So you know what she wants with it. Look, I'm just saying, you've got a diary at home and you like to write little like speeches and stuff, you do that. You know, when I'm at work, I have a notebook that I like write, notes in for work, but I also write like things that people say that I find funny.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like one time somebody told me that the ringtone or the hold music was awful, and I put that in, stuff like that. It's great.
See, I keep an audio diary on this here computer that we're recording
of course,
on,
yeah.
But I record the diary while I'm sitting down with like musical instruments.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's just annotated with me noodling on the guitar and like mashing buttons for a drum machine.
That's very silly. We should like bring our diaries together and compare. A good time.
Thing is, I delete mine.
I can't. Mine's written on paper and you can't get rid of that shit, no matter what you do, unless you burn it. But I'm not taking it later to work. Anyway, where did you learn to cook fruit, son? At home? Yes, at home. The other parents in attendance were impressed. Lies, all lies. I didn't teach her anything. Who was it? Who was the person who had completely indoctrinated my child? She was my normal, average daughter, not the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Maybe it was her father.
Or maybe it was her mother in a previous timeline.
What? Detective Himatsubarushi!
Wait, does that mean we finished?
That means we've done all the tips.
Oh.
We get those when we read all the tips, because you can go through and not read them or pick which ones to read.
We didn't get that one into Higurashi.
No, because we missed one. Because we missed one. Yeah. It's alright. It's entirely on you.
Now I just feel silly for not noticing.
It's alright.
Next time.
Next time.